That was Mose Allison from 1968, Your Molecular Structure. So let's talk about Mose Allison. That was one that we're talking to Anthony Farrell on the phone, the keyboardist with the Greyhounds and J.J. Grey and Mofro. He's nice enough to talk to us here tonight. Tell me about Mose Allison and Mose Allison's influence on you.
Well, yeah, Mose, he's such a interesting voice and style. It's one of those things. My mom actually was responsible for me knowing about him. She would play his records and stuff when I was a kid, and I just always loved the way he sang. And I use him as an example to a lot of guys when we're trying to describe like differences between vocalists. You got a lot of vocalists who use big vibrato, and it's like, that kind of thing. But Mose, he just has a style where he just sings the note, and it's just straight. And, I mean, you can just hear it, and he's not trying to put anything else on it. It just is what it is, and it's like a very just honest way of singing, and it's hard. It's a lot harder than it sounds,
Right, like an extension of his speaking voice.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. A lot of people hide behind things. You hear, I don't think that Michael McDonald talks like that. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, taking nothing away from Michael McDonald. I love
Right.
Michael McDonald too, but definitely, it's one of those things that it's just, it's hard to find, people who sing, just naturally and not trying to put anything but just their voice on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's increasingly rare these days too.
Absolutely.
So I just always like those for that reason.
He was kind of a little beat poet thing happening there too on a lot of his stuff. His lyrics were definitely different. I mean, who else has a song called Your Molecular Structure?
Yeah, and that was the other thing that really appeals to me about him is just that, there's just an intelligence there that, it's like, you can listen to it and dig a little bit deeper in it. You know what I mean? It's not just all right there for you, but it's just hip, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just really like it.
Absolutely. Before Mose, we played Lee Dorsey with Who's Gonna Help Brother Get Further. Now, that's a song that you recorded on the live thing that you did, live at the Continental, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, now Lee Dorsey, a New Orleans guy, played with the Meters a lot. Working in a Coal Mine was his big hit, among others. But I believe that Alan Toussaint and the Meters were involved in a lot of that stuff. Correct? That's to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny. I kind of stumbled upon Lee Dorsey later on. Listening to the Meters and stuff for a while, but I didn't really get into Lee until when I first moved to Austin about 7 years ago. I was living with a fellow named Jay Moeller, who's a great drummer. He plays with the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Right. His brother Johnny plays with the Fabulous Thunderbirds as well.
Yeah, both of them.
Right,
yes.
right.
And they're killer. If anybody gets a chance to check them out, I highly recommend it. Really
we've played an album that they did with Sean Pittman quite a bit on the radio show. They did an album called Triple Trouble.
Sean, great. Great stuff. Yeah, when I first moved to town, I didn't really know anybody, and he had a spare room in his place, and so just to kind of get my foot in the door, he let me stay with him, and he had a real extensive record collection. And digging through his stuff, he had a couple of Lee Dorsey albums, and I was listening to that stuff, and I was just like, man, this guy's voice, and of course the production. You got Alan Toussaint and the Meters and everything. I mean, it's just really cool stuff. And I just love his delivery and everything, and that really influenced me a lot. Once I got turned on to him, it's just really kind of changed the way I approach singing too a little bit.
He does have the same Mose Allison thing happening, where it's a very natural approach, I think, too. Don't you think?
Yeah, and just it's natural, and it's not. Yeah, it's not like a put on. It's just really. It sounds like he's genuinely happy.
Yeah.
When he's singing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. You know, people can tell when you're not feeling it, and you know, he's feeling it.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. People don't mistake sincerity. Not ever. Not ever. And you know, there's so much great Lee Dorsey. You can get into one Lee Dorsey song and think, I wonder if there's anything else. And yeah, there is. There's a bunch. You know, and that's what's so great about that is the deeper you dig, the better it gets with Lee Dorsey. That's really some great stuff. Before that, we played Bobby Womack from back in the 1970s. Woman's Gotta Have It. Talk to me about Bobby Womack.
Man, well, you know, that's just one of those guys. Every time you listen to him sing, it just seems like he's putting his all into it, you know. And that particular song, to me, just really strikes a chord because, I mean, it's the truth. You listen to the lyrics in that song, and, I mean, to me, that just about sums it up, man. If you want to know how to treat a woman right, then that song really is good advice,
right?
You know. And not only that, but it's just a great song. I just love listening to it. The bass on that, I mean, the bass line on there is one of my favorite bass lines of all time.
I'm not even sure who that is, but whoever it is just
that's
absolutely
a good question.
killing.
I don't know either, but I'm going to find out after we get off the phone.
I should probably do that too. I should, now that I've dug that hole for myself. But and you know, it's interesting because that song has been recorded by so many different people, from James Taylor to the Neville Brothers to just a lot of different people, and that to me is just really the sign of just a really terrific song when you hear all sorts of different versions of that song, you know, and it just sort of lives on that way. It doesn't have to do anything. It's just people find it and do it themselves. Yeah. So, and we started off with the Meters from Look a Pie Pie with Yeah, You're Right, George Porter Jr. on the bass, Leo Nocentelli on the guitar, Art Neville on the organ, and Joseph Zigaboo Modaliste on the drums. Do you have a favorite Meters album?
Well, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, I just like all their stuff. You know, I got to admit that, you know, I haven't really listened to the albums like albums, you know. I've always heard, you know, the songs. You know, I always hear them as songs because, I don't know, it running around and stuff, that's one of the things as a musician I am so, I'm almost ashamed to admit that, you know, I'm one of those people that I don't listen to the whole records as much as I should.
I don't think anybody does anymore, do they? I did want to talk to you about this very thing, the changing structure of the record industry and being a musician at this day and age. But I think that's really something that's drifted away. I know that LPs are gaining popularity again, almost as sort of like a you know, as a revolution kind of thing, a revolt against you know, the download thing and everything like that. But I think that's kind of the way things work. I mean, how do you view what's happened? To move right along, how do you view what's happening as far as you know? It used to be that the goal of the musician was to get signed with a label that would promote you, get you some money, promote you, get you out on the road doing your thing, and so on like that. And now it just seems different. It seems different not only from the record company perspective, but also from the perspective, as you said, as a listener. People are less attached to their music nowadays.
Yeah. Well, that's it seems to be the case. You know, I mean, first of all, you know, everybody, you're constantly distracted, you know, by different things now. It seems like, you know, well, okay, first of all, most people listen to music on their computers now.
Right.
You know, so, you know, they'll have it on shuffle or something like that.
Right.
So you don't even hear a whole record, you know. I mean, the last time I listened to a whole album was when I actually sat down and put on my record player, which I don't really get a chance to do as often as I'd like because, you know, I'm traveling so much. But, yeah, you know, the way it's consumed has changed in that regard. And then also, you know, the way people buy music, you know, a lot of it now is singles. It's kind of going back to that thing where, you know, people aren't paying attention as much to making a whole record that, you know, stands on its own as a record, you know,
right.
like a whole work of art. they're just, song by song. And, that's one of those things, I can't say whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's really hard to say. But the one thing that you don't see very much anymore is a whole record that's devoted to one idea.
Right.
And, it allows you to kind of expand on that one idea and, say a little bit more than you can say in just one song. You know what I mean?
That might be a good thing. It might be good that we have to concentrate the musician has to concentrate his efforts into smaller things. You have to work within the confines of what's. I mean, we're back in the 50s essentially again, right? We're in the 50s.
Yeah, and which, I mean, it's really hard to say whether or not that's good. I mean, if you're a fan of whole albums that that have like a arc, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then it's not good, of course. But if you're just a fan of really good songs and like pop songs and things like that, then hey, you're loving it, right?
Right.
But either way, what I will say, about the industry aspect is, one way or another, you want to get your music out there, and it'd be great if we all had, these patrons or record companies, that were just willing to, give you money and, you can just focus on making your art. But nowadays, it just, it doesn't work like that no more. You got to really, work from the ground up and build yourself. You got to push yourself, and hopefully, if you do well enough at that, then somebody will come along and be like, hey, this person's really, got the motivation that it takes, and it's worth investing in this person.
So it's still kind of survival of the fittest. It's just kind of a different kind of thing. It's just like it's not you're trying to get somebody to hear how great you are. It's kind of look how hard we worked to a certain extent.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that
No.
In fact, that can be even more essential to your survival as an artist, because first of all, you've got to, you're looking out for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
basically. You have to push yourself, and you have to believe in yourself as an artist in order to go through all the struggles that you have to in order to make it as an artist, And so that kind of culls, people who aren't really in it for the right reasons out, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's good, it makes you work hard. But, in some regards, some people just might not want to work that hard. I often, sometimes I think about what it would be like if I didn't have to make music for a living, and I can just do it for fun. Maybe I would make different music. I don't know, but it's like, it's hard. It's hard drawing that line. Like, you want to make music for yourself, but also you want to try to make a living doing this.
Right, because it's not just about you. It's about you. A responsible musician, theoretically, as far as I'm concerned, has to be thinking about their audience as much as themselves anymore if they're going to survive. That's
right.
accurate,
and,
right?
We're entertainers, as much as hey, I love making music, and I would do it whether or not I was getting paid or not. But, over the years, the more and more I do this, the more I realize that you do have a responsibility to those people who you're going out there to perform for, because I remember when I first, like after a couple of years of traveling and performing, I was kind of doubting really what impact, what I'm doing had.
Right.
You know what I mean? As a musician, I get out there and people would just get drunk and, do whatever. You know what I mean? And I used to think, oh, well, if they're not really here for the music, they're just here to, whatever, do their thing, whatever, inebriated or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But as time goes by, man, I realize how important that is. People need that. They need to have something where I can go here, I can listen to some music and get with my friends and just kind of forget about all the problems that you face in the daytime. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's really important to have that. And now, I realize the responsibility that you have as an artist to really, bring something for real and bring, all of yourself to a performance and not just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like for real.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's kind of the blues mentality. It's kind of, that's the way that the old blues people all, it was all about, we're gonna share in the bad times, and we're gonna celebrate that we're getting through this, or whatever, or the good times, or whatever. We're celebrating together. We're all here.
So we're here together.
Yeah, right. We're here together. Here we are. What are we gonna do?
We're in it.
So we've just got a little bit of time left. I want to talk about how you hooked up with J.J. Grey and Mofro.
Oh, well, and that's great. That's perfect, change the subject because, okay, well,
I know that was kind
Greyhounds,
of yeah.
We played numerous gigs together over the years, and, we've been friends with J.J. for a long time. And when his longtime organist, Adam Scone, quit the band, we talked with JJ and just, it seemed like it would be a good fit if me and Andrew came and joined up. So we joined the band, and at first Andrew was playing bass, and then when Daryl Hance quit the band, he moved up to playing lead guitar, and then we got a bass player. We got Tek Yo, and then we got Todd Smalley, who's playing with us now.
Who was with the Derek Trucks band.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And who is incredible, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we've been friends for a long time, and definitely, we're kind of coming from a similar place musically. He's a big fan of like, all the Stax record stuff. Otis Redding is a huge influence on him. And
you can hear all that. You can hear the similarities between the two bands, and so to me it just seems like a perfect fit all the way around with everybody that he's got in this particular band. This might be the strongest version of Mofro. I've followed Mofro since their first album, and this might be the strongest version I've ever heard. Just sounds terrific. That live album is terrific, and there's a DVD.
I really appreciate that, and I got to say, yes, in terms of musical ability, they're great. And just really a great group of guys, and I've learned so much just since being in this group, about music and how you approach it and all the different ways you can approach it, and so it's been a very enriching experience for me to be in this group. But how I was saying, it was such a perfect segue because JJ is one of those guys that he's been working at this for years and years, and I'm just really happy to see that things are going well for him, after all this time and effort that he's put into it without, a whole lot of help from labels. He's on a great label now. Alligator Records is a great label.
Right.
And, but, it's just like, he's just worked from the ground up and really built this thing up, and always believed in himself, and so he's a great example of what I was talking about earlier. Of like, hey, in this day and age, you just really got to believe in yourself and keep on pushing because not everybody's always going to be there to just help you along.
Right.
You got to really believe in it, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll play something from the new album. It's a live album called Brighter Days. We're going to wrap this up now, but I want to thank you so much, Anthony Farrell, for talking to us here on the Burnt Toast Show, and hopefully we can talk to you again sometime soon when you have something new to promote or you're in the area or something like that. It would be great if you could come on and talk to us again.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, and hey, you really got a great show here, and all you people out there, just keep supporting the Burnt Toast Show because it's happening.
Thank you very much. This is J.J. Grey and Mofro from their album Brighter Days on the Burnt Toast Show.